Yo, what's good? It's your boy Rayshawn from the Rayshawn Gatson Anime Podcast, or RGAT for short. And on today's episode, we're interviewing special guest Chris Woodworth, a professional voice actor and animator who is known for Gotham Knights, Lego Batman, and Lego The Incredibles. Join us as we dive into the world of voice acting, exploring Chris's personal journey and achievements, and uncovering his anime origin story. And also, any tips for anybody out there trying to be a voice actor. And to make this one a little bit different, we talk about our two favorite games as a kid. So if that got you interested, then sit back and enjoy the ride. Before we get started, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, basically tell everybody where you're from, what you do, and also tell us your top two favorite games as a kid or your top two favorite animes from your childhood.
All right. Okay. Well, hi there. I am Chris Woodworth. I am a animator, but also a voice actor based in the northwest of England, between Liverpool and Manchester, a small town called Wigan. I always have to say between Liverpool and Manchester, but yeah, and in animation, I have worked in animation for around 15 to 16 years, animated for around 24 video games. Yeah, including GTA 4 and Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga and even Gotham Knights, but yeah, there's so many more. Voice acting, my niche is voicing for video games and animation, but I also do corporate narration, dubbing, and different things like that, even commercials. So, my childhood favorite games, my two favorite games, I would say. I think one of my first games I ever played, and I was always hooked on it. Can you believe it was the very first Prince of Persia game? See, this actually shows my age. It really does. It's, you know, but yeah, and I think it was possibly on one of the first computers I ever had. But I was so hooked on it, as well. And that there was that, and then eventually, still in the PC realm of things, I think it was The Curse of Monkey Island as well. It was so difficult to get me off that. That was a great blend of adventure meets comedy, like cartoon comedy as well. Pirates and just silliness, as well. And it just really took me away for a while. I loved it. Yeah.
Is it Curse of the Monkey?
Curse of the Monkey Island. Yeah, if you remember the Monkey Island games, yeah. But this one looked like an animation that you would see on TV at the time, like one of those Saturday morning cartoons. It had that look. It was very cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I've never heard of that game. I'll have to try that out.
Oh, you gotta look it up. Yeah. Yeah, just like watch even a playthrough or something, it's quite cool.
Okay. For my favorite two games, I chose Pokemon because I loved all the Pokemon games. I'm actually playing one right now at work on my phone because I have a Game Boy emulator. I've been playing Ruby and Silver. And those games, they always were one of the few games that I actually played as a kid. I was more into like watching anime as a kid, but I also played a lot of fighting games. So that's actually my number two is actually Mortal Kombat and like Soul Calibur. I love fighting games as a kid. I always felt like fighting games were always a good game to play in, especially if you had a lot of friends come over, because it's only one of the few games where you can get people in and out, get everybody a turn with the controller. Because other games, you'd be like, oh, let's play this. And you have 3 or 5, 7 levels in, and everybody trying to figure out when we get a turn. So I always liked that. I've always been a big fan of the Wii console too type of thing.
Classic. Yeah. Geez, I had one of those Nintendo Wii phases, as well, even with my parents as well. And yeah, just fun times with that, over Christmas. But yeah.
Any
Classic.
favorite Wii games?
Oh my goodness! Can you believe the times we played? We often played Wii Sports together. Yeah, the classic. Yeah, nothing too crazy like Mario Kart or whatever. But for some reason, we were always on Wii Sports, and we played that like every Christmas because it would get us off the couch. We would get active. Hilarity would ensue, I guess, and there was There was one or two like silly dancing games as well that I'd play with mum because she loved that. It would just kind of bring
Hmm.
us together, I'd say. And playing two-player boxing with my dad at times was dangerous because he gets so much into it. He kept on stepping too close to me. He actually really punched me in the arm so hard.
Oh,
Like
damn.
one time, I still remember. And even watching him play golf, he got so much into it, he went off balance and fell over. But we would just have tears of laughter quite often, playing it.
Oh
So,
man.
yeah, the Nintendo Wii console, good times. Yeah, I remember.
I can understand how the sports game could be very competitive because I know bowling when they came out, everybody in my house was ready to compete. Whew. And I always
Yeah.
had this like set like secret spot. Like once I got my player there, move my arm a certain way. It was a scrape. Like it was gonna be hard to beat me in that game. So that
I
was
can
my favorite game.
imagine. I can kind of imagine you getting like very competitive and really holding your position and everything. Were you getting that serious? So you kind of put the powder on your hand and everything, like, getting ready to,
Got the
like line
bowling
it up.
clothes on for no reason. Like, nah. But when it came on, you knew I was ready for it. Like, except for baseball, that was my least favorite game.
Oh yeah, yeah. But anything where you can, you're not really contacting anything, so you're likely to pull a muscle in your shoulder or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I've had that. I think it was with like the volleyball one because it came to the point where we were actually jumping up, like in the air and really stretching to hit a ball, like that. And it was just, yeah. And a couple of times I ended up having injuries because I strained my shoulder or something, just doing that. But the crazy thing I will share though is when it came to trying to play something in Wii Sports that was more chilled out, I was so hooked on the archery. And it sounds weird, but it's just trying to go against like wind velocity to hit the target and everything, and you have to do it in a very particular way. And I played it quite often to the point that when I met up with my cousin one time and we went to this like outdoor family day out, like this summer fete, they actually had this archery area, and I kept on hitting bullseyes.
Oh, for real? Also, it actually like translated over.
Yeah, because the physics of it and where I was aiming, the Wii console seemed to set me up for it. And my cousin was losing her mind. I was kind of freaking out. It's like, I keep hitting bullseyes. The Wii actually works, and
I would
yeah,
have been like, I told you I'd be out there every day.
yeah,
Man, not.
I wasn't acting cool about it at all. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
See, I would have took it too far. I would have been going back and back. Well, let's see how far I can hit this, man. Beat my distance on the Wii. Hit this from the parking lot.
Yeah, naturally, yeah, just to push the boat just a bit, see what you can do.
All right, now we're gonna kind of talk about what we've been kind of watching and doing recently. I don't know if you've been playing any games recently or watching any new movies or anything.
Yes, yeah. I seem to watch movies more than play games. I've had
Okay.
an addiction to movies ever since I was a child, even though
What's the
my
Halloween
mm.
season that just passed? Any scary movies or anything?
Oh, yeah. I finally watched Smile, with
Okay.
for the first time. My fiance had already seen it, but we watched it together, and yeah, it's very unnerving. We still need to see the sequel together, but yeah. Just to lighten things up, we finally watched Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, just to go back to my childhood, and it reminded me of times when I dressed up as Beetlejuice for Halloween, when I was doing my studies many years ago, and learning to talk like him as well, and everything is quite fun. But also, very recently, I finally watched Late Night with the Devil as well, and I don't
Mm,
know if you've heard of that one.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, you have to look it up because it's actually made to look like it's in the 70s, even though it's still quite new. It probably came out some months ago, but it's just a guy who's like a TV show host, like a late night TV show host, and
Mm,
and he wants this show to really put him on the map. He wants to keep the ratings up and put himself like in the top tier. And he he actually decides to do something quite crazy, and even though his crew is kind of going against him, it's like, no, don't do this. You're messing with stuff you don't understand, because it's it's like with working with this doctor, this exorcist sort of person, to talk with this little girl and to actually commune with the devil live on TV. So this little girl
Okay.
who's possessed by the devil will actually kind of talk, to her. And, it's like paranormal, but inevitably, it even says in the premise as well that he ends up releasing an evil into people's homes, and it's just things spiral on the air. And it's almost like you're watching forgotten footage, from that fateful night, and you see how things just transpire, and it's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds pretty dope. That sounds like
Yeah.
something I did see when I was looking through scary movies to watch. When I end up doing I did not a new thing, but I did a Conjuring rewatch, rewatching all the Conjuring movies and stuff like that.
I still need
And
to see that. Yeah.
oh, you got to see them, and then
Conjuring.
you got to watch them all in order because I didn't realize the
Yes.
order was all over place. And some movies that were supposed to be like the newer movies are some of the movies that's actually in the beginning of the series. So you're like, okay, we get
You
all
messed
this
with the
new
order?
animation.
Oh, confusion.
It's a little bit confused. My thing is, it'd be like some of the newer movies look so much better than some of the like the regular Conjuring movies. So you're like, this supposed to be before this movie, I guess, but it
Mm,
still plays out. I think The Conjuring still holds where it's at, one of the scariest movies. Because every time I see it, it still has this moments where you're like, oh, okay, I can see
mm,
why when this first came out, people were saying they needed a priest in the movie theaters and all that. I'm gonna be honest, I never got that scared of the movie. I think I'm just at the end of the day, I just believe this is not real until I see this. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I'm just gonna keep it in that realm.
I,
Knock
I
on
guess
wood.
anything, knock on wood, anything to do with like the paranormal, or spirits and that kind of, I don't know. Yeah, just even the way they do it these days as well. I do like it at times when they don't rely on jump scares.
Mhm.
It's just I like the subtleties, that some directors put into their horror movies that
When
just
it
make you
comes
feel
together.
uneasy. Yeah, whether it's sound or something like that, where you feel really uncomfortable, you feel really tense,
Yeah.
and you just don't quite know why, or you feel like, yeah, that character, I just feel like she's just looking right at me right now. Yeah, I've watched one or
What
two
you're
movies where they feel.
describing reminds me of Hereditary. I don't know if you've seen that scary movie.
I still need to see that, as well. So yeah.
That
Mm.
describes that movie to a T. Because that movie right there, I tell people, out of all the movies I've seen recently, that movie has a scene in there that literally made me so uncomfortable. And I was like,
Really?
whoa, like oh
Wow.
man.
Wow. So, okay, I'm going to put that on my list then. Hereditary is a movie I'm going to avoid. So, no, I'm just, yeah, oh my goodness. Okay. You know what? If you do feel that way as a result of the movie, that shows that they've done something right, you
That's what I'm
know?
thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Because if you go out thinking like, man, they didn't hit their mark. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I'm going to be honest. I'm a guy who actually cries at movies, as well. I'm not afraid to say it, and I've been like this my whole life, with certain movies, and basically when when I got older and maybe one or two friends who happened to be sat next to me, would see me have this reaction, and they would say to me like, "Oh, buddy, it's just a movie," like that. I would get like frustrated, and they stopped saying it to me because what they didn't understand at the time is that if it has that effect on me, it shows that this is a work of art, that they've done something right. The actors, they've really hit the mark. The directors, the way they built this up and everything. So if they get you to feel something, it's a testament to great creatives, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's happened to me a few times when I've teared up in anime moments, and you'd be like, "Dang, I can't believe this really like made me tear up." But then you'd be like, "Well, the whole build up to this exact moment
Hmm.
made this happen." So I got to give them their props for that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh. But you can't. I don't know. I'm a sucker for a really good movie, as well. And naturally, over the years, one or two video games have had that will give me that reaction as well. Yeah, yeah. I gotta say, the way video games have changed over the years, the way they've evolved, is just incredible. Just down to the acting and the fact that focus is put on stories
Mm-hmm.
as well. Yeah, I just love the journey. Mm.
And going with that, we're gonna kind of go right into our interview. I got a few questions I got for you, kind of learning more about your personal life and also about your careers and everything you've been into and stuff like that over the years.
All right, let's go.
For my first question, I want to ask you is what made you want to pursue a career in voice acting and also animation? And were you afraid of this new challenge?
Okay, so starting off with animation because that was what I went into first. I consider myself to be one of the lucky ones because I knew from a very early age that I wanted to go into animation. I wanted to be an animator because when I when I actually kind of bought a book about animation, when I saw that courses were being released out of universities, about animation, like teaching you the art form, I bought a book to find out what that word is, animation. What, is it what I think it is? And it combined loads of different things that I love doing. Just the character creation, the creating life. Even the not just in a Disney way, but in different ways. I guess. And yeah, and it looked like things were turning towards computers, as well. And as I've mentioned, I'm a sucker for good stories as well. I love acting, as well, the art of acting, and I love creating character in different ways. And so yeah, that just led to my studies. For a number of years, I ended up with a bachelor's degree. I got a master's in computer animation, where I started opening up my mind a bit more. I wasn't just focused on trying to like work on movies or anything straight. Like when I was leaving university, I decided, you know what, video games, they are becoming incredible. And they're, yeah, looking quite stable. I'm going to move into that. And so yeah, that got me into animation. Before long, I was working for a few months at a local studio who specialized in realistic facial animation for
Okay.
different movies and video games. They they even did some work apparently on the Polar Express and one of the Harry Potter movies as well. But
I love the Polar
ju-
Express.
oh yeah, it's a classic. I mean, even though the facial animation at the time just has like a little bit of a creepiness because the eyes are a little bit dead, it's still a classic Christmas movie to me. Yeah, and because things did get better with animation, since then as
Sure.
well. And basically, I actually got to work on GTA 4. That was the main thing I was working on, Grand Theft Auto. Just the faces and not just making the characters speak, but actually listen, react, as well. Just focusing on the face by seeing the actor's video when they're in the voice booth and everything. And so
Did
I
you
was
also
doing
work
that
on
kind of
five?
work. Sorry?
Did you also work on five?
No, it was just
Oh,
four.
okay.
Yeah, but I worked a little bit on Killzone 2, just a little bit on that,
Okay. Okay.
and there was a tennis game called Top Spin 3. It wasn't like characters talking or anything. If you imagine like in between serves and the loosening up, and they just kind of roll their heads and they got their like eyes closed or stretching, or pulling these faces, we're doing stuff like that. But but from there, I spent quite a number of years working for TT Games. With they're responsible for a lot of the Lego video games that you see even in stores these days. I worked on the very first Lego Batman game, Lego Indiana Jones, and like the majority of their video games from there, right up until Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga as well. So I was working in the cinematics department, like animating the cutscenes, for that. And there was a period of time that they actually had their own motion capture studio, which, naturally getting the chance to wear the dots as well when I got to test out one or two characters. I got to, you know, act in this big space, when they were testing out a few Lord of the Rings characters, realistic ones. And
Mm-hmm.
so testing those out, I actually got to be an orc, do all the movements for an orc as I held a sword and everything. So I got to be quite animalistic with that. And I got to do
Okay.
some testing, with Frodo and Sam as well.
Is that when they have
Yeah.
y'all like in that green room and y'all have those suits on and y'all just kind of like walking around and stuff like that?
Yeah. Basically, you got this big space, like loads of different cameras just kind of pointing at you. But I'm wearing this really tight, like Velcro, like outfit, this lycra outfit, and I've got all these tiny little silver balls at my different
Mm-hmm.
joints, as well. These different trackers, even on my head, and so basically there was a projected image, for instance, of Samwise Gamgee, from Lord of the Rings, and it's a realistic looking Samwise Gamgee. And any movements I made, Sam was moving with me. So
Wow, that's pretty
yeah,
dope.
so it was cool just doing some idle animations, where I would just stand there and they said, okay, we're going to record in 3, 2, 1. You just stay in the spot, maybe look around or whatever. And I'm holding this sword, but the difference is that Sam has got this backpack on, and
Okay.
he's got like pots and pans. He's wearing a cloak. He's got like his feet are a bit bigger than mine because they're hobbit feet. So I had to pick my feet up just a little bit more, but I'm just there holding my sword and I'm just shifting my way forward, imagining like I've got this heavy backpack on, so naturally it does something to where your position is, you're leaning forward a bit more. Um,
Okay. So they
yeah,
don't give you
so
anything to kind of act as a backpack to give you that feel, or
not really, not at the time
oh,
because it would get in the way of the markers. And so
I could feel
that's
that
why
too.
it helped me to be able to see Sam like on the wall, just projected,
Mm,
like that. And even though I'm not wearing a backpack, I would do certain things like while I was just stood there, just swaying a little bit, looking left and right, just glancing around, I would actually kind of grab onto my shoulder and just do this sort of movements, like I'm adjusting the strap a little bit, so it's more comfortable on my shoulder. I would do those little things because Sam would do the same. He would do like that and everything. But yeah, it was working on each of their games. I felt like they were raising the bar each time I was learning something new in terms of performance, bringing characters to life, hand keyed animations and yeah, even working on very, very much beloved franchises, Lego Marvel superheroes, Lego Harry Potter, and all of that. And yeah, but towards the end of my time there, I did more facial animation. I was outsourced to a couple of other studios where I did facial animation for Gotham Knights and
okay.
Hogwarts Legacy as well. Yeah.
I've played the Lego Batman and the Incredibles game. The
Ah,
Batman
nice.
game came with my Wii, so I remember
Ah,
playing that for like the longest. So when you brought that up, I was like, "Oh, okay. I've played one of your works, you know."
there you go. See, that brought you back. That's nice, because it's fun. They because we were working for like I guess we're working in partnership with DC, for
Hmm.
that. The rule that they had is that you cannot make fun of Batman. You need to kind of keep him still sort of brooding, and everything, and try not to make too much fun of him. But with Robin, we could have a bit of fun. He's like a younger, really enthusiastic Robin who just loves being a superhero. So enthusiastic to a point Batman struggles to control him at times. Like he will get clumsy or something. So it was fun coming up with ideas for these cutscenes just to make people laugh every once in a while. Yeah.
That's funny. The kind of thing that was like, well, you got to keep Batman, but you can do whatever you want with Robin. Batman has to be Batman. That's funny to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I was just going to say that, for instance, Pirates of the Caribbean, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, they said that this is going to be the challenge, but Jack Sparrow really needs to feel like Jack. Just the way he moves,
Hmm.
the way he poses, just the way he walks and the way he runs. And so, yeah, naturally we'd all just do research in our time, like during work as well, in between animating scenes. We would play parts of like we would watch like the different movies again and things like that. But we would look at behind the scenes, and one of the things I got to know because I was trying to figure out, why does Jack walk like that? Why does he always move like that? And it's because he spends all of his time out at sea, so he's constantly, used to the
Oh,
moving and
okay.
everything. So
Yeah.
when he's on land, he feels very uncomfortable, very uncertain. He's feeling his way around. He's constantly like off balance. Plus, the rum doesn't help.
Yeah, that's also like
So
he's always drunk too.
yeah, so when I would walk into the studio kitchen, sometimes I'd find myself walking like him, trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
Hold my hands up in a certain way, in that kind of way. But you
Did
have
y'all
heard
get
of
any
me.
like inspiration from like Johnny Depp or bring him in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would just kind of really pay attention to the facial expressions, just the fact that when when he's just trying to figure something out, or he's kind of confused, his eyes are quite often quite wide, or something. His mouth
mhm.
is actually, just quite pursed together, quite small, like that. And yeah, and I think it's just times when he does speak to people, he will kind of break that social barrier. He would invade somebody's space a little bit, like that. Somebody says like, "You're the worst pirate I've ever heard of." Yeah, he would just like lead in the face and just kind of be like, "But you have heard of me," in that sort of way, and that quietness, and everything. But yeah, so it's really getting to the psychology of the characters. I guess we're kind of like actors. That's what animators are. Yeah.
Okay. But my next question I want to ask you: do you think there's any misconceptions about voice acting?
Oh yeah, that it is all about the voice. It's not
Okay.
all about the voice. It's not about having a good voice, really. I mean, yes, different people can tell you that you have a great voice, but that's not really going to get you through. It's about actually being genuine, really being able to take direction and being able to emit very small emotional nuances, really understanding, a script, a copy that you're given. Because imagine this, you're given like a script, it could be for a character or a commercial or something like that. And when you do an audition, every single time you do an audition, for instance, whether it's an audition or work, you have to deliver the dialogue on that script, record that, but in a way where it doesn't sound like it's being read.
True,
It's just
true.
guessing out of that, where you can just make it sound natural. And so it is about the training, and also you don't have to constantly be able to do different voices. Yes, if you can do impressions, all right, that's fantastic, but don't really rely on that. You have to learn to accept and appreciate and actually like your own voice, your natural voice. Because a lot of the times people will hire you for what you naturally sound like. Yeah. And
Okay.
no matter what kind of sound you have, no matter what kind of accent you have, there is a space for you. There is a place for you somewhere in voice acting, you know? So, yeah, for instance, my accent, even though I'm British, and a lot of people will identify my voice as British, I would actually say that there are other things in my accent. It's said to
Hmm.
be quite international. It's said to be quite globular. Some,
Yeah, because you have like a natural tone to me. I wouldn't really
mm.
be like, oh, he's British. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah,
didn't tell me.
it's yeah, because at times when needed, like if I get a copy that needs somebody British, I know how to turn the British up, if I
Okay.
need to. Yeah, but if somebody sends me a client sends me a copy or I get an audition from my agent, where they need like more of a general American accent, then yeah, then I can kind of deliver, and after a while, it can be kind of awesome after a while, and yeah, so that could be fun, and so I kind of deliver it as with some sort of American accent, and yeah, that's it, and so basically, it's I do like to be quite a chameleon, with the voice acting. And yeah, I'm constantly learning, experimenting as well. I post a lot of my experiments and challenges like on social media as well, whether it's monologues or when I've heard something that is inspired, like a new character voice. I don't know if you've seen that that video that's been floating around online. I think there was a judge who is struggling to stay serious because of these two African American people who are in court, these two guys. And I think one of them, he's more of like a preacher, but he's very angry because I think the other guy had assaulted him with a chicken that he had actually
Yes,
bought
yes,
for.
that's
Yes.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, like that. I actually yeah, I remember actually seeing that and just kind of cracking up laughing, just even at the judge's reaction, and yeah, and I just love it, because I found that it would sort of inspire character voice, because with that kind of thing you can't really hold back, and yeah, and and I think just seeing it though, and just going away for a moment, and I found myself just kind of going, "He hit me hard, Judge. He hit me hard. You see how he sold me with that chicken? I want my $400." And I find myself just getting active with it. And that's the thing. Um, when you're in the booth as well, you have to be physical with it, depending on the character. You have to don't be afraid to use your hands because if you do that and you're not focusing just too much on the voice, the attitude and everything will naturally come out, the accent will follow, and yeah, it's you just have to really play with it. You can't be shy. Yeah.
Okay, okay. For my next question, I want to ask you, what emotion do you find hard to portray?
Hmm. That's a really good question. You know what? I think at times maybe it is genuine, genuine sadness. Where you're trying to hide it. I would say like the difficult emotion to try and get is something very complex. It's not just sadness. It's sadness in a way where you are trying to hide it. You are trying to make it out like you are okay, but you're hiding pain, as well.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Something very complex like that. Because nowadays, to make a character interesting, I don't really focus on that character just being sad because that's just straight ahead, but it's more effective. It most likely affects people if it is someone who is trying not to portray that they're sad when they really are. Like, think
Okay.
about it. Would you feel heartbroken at just seeing somebody cry? Or would you feel more heartbroken seeing somebody struggling not to cry? Tears in their eyes, and they are really struggling to hold it together. You
Yeah,
know?
those people that's something going on with them, but they every day have a smile on their face, and you're just like, oh man, I wish I could go through like do that. I know exactly what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. The complex ones, it's because at times with those ones, you kind of have to recall certain things in your life as well. And that's where you really do need to be an actor because voice acting is acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I can see how that could be hard just portraying that with just your voice. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's all you
absolutely.
get. Like that's yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, there have been times in the booth playing certain characters, whether they're experiments or actual work, where I have actually been like maybe welled up, like I've got tears in my eyes, or I am full blown crying. You know, there was what I will tell you is this year I actually went to my very first video games kind of conference, like a voice acting conference that was like especially for video games anyway.
Oh,
And yeah, so surrounded by incredible voice actors and watching these presentations, and there was
were you
the
invited
lead.
to speak?
Sorry.
Were you invited to speak or just to
Oh
kind of?
no! I was just basically attending to a network with any casting directors and be inspired basically, and learn, quite a bit and make new friends out of all these different voice actors, and there was I can't remember her last name, but there's Tanya something. Anyway, there was somebody who's like the lead casting director for Blizzard. She was there all the way from LA, and this was in London now. And she basically said that, to be honest, everyone, I don't give a shit what your voice sounds like. Yeah, what I look for is for you to bare your soul at the microphone. I want you to be able to bring your trauma to the microphone because if you imagine like different games like Warhammer and things like that, these crazy looking trolls and stuff. And she says, oh, yeah, you may be voicing like a troll that has lost his entire family and now is after vengeance, for the people who made that happen, or something. But in those moments, you're not just showing anger. What I want you to do in those moments, what I'm looking for you to do in those moments, is to really think carefully about what would actually make you want to take somebody's life. And that really took us aback because many of us instantly thought the same thing, like, what? I do not have that I don't have that in me at all.
I don't even want to
Yeah.
play around with that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But then she made us think because she would say that, it's not saying that you act on it, obviously, but you think about, yeah, but you think about what would trigger that emotion, in you, even if you just imagine it. And different people were raising their hands and just kind of saying that if you purposely hurt my children,
Okay.
yeah, if you brought harm to my close friends and family, that type of thing.
Give him some
And
good
so,
reasons. You know what I mean?
yeah, yes, because that would do something. It would trigger something, And so she said that the way she directs people now is like if she would get that guy to do a take, of that troll, just in despair, like after vengeance, say, okay, right, okay, so now you've shown that lust for vengeance, and everything, that pain and everything, but now she instead of saying to this voice actor, turn it up more or be more hurt, instead she will say, now do it again, but act like somebody has come up and kicked your dog in the face. Yeah, like that, and that would kind of trigger something, as well. So it was very inspiring actually because she said, you know what, we all have traumas, in different ways, and life is hard. Let's use it. Let's make art. Yeah, that's what she said, and it really did make sense. And I mean, obviously, do things in a controlled way, but it's it's very profound what you do learn over over the years of voice acting when you continue to train and you learn the extent of emotions and just how to take certain experiences from your normal life and put them into a character you're playing as well. Yeah.
True. True.
Mm.
True. moving to my next question, I want to ask you: is there a different process when you're dubbing for games than for like any other type of voice acting?
So you mean actually doing voice acting for games, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So as I've mentioned, my niche is voicing for animation and video games, and there is a difference. Voicing for animation, yes, you can be grounded with it, you can go crazy with it, you can make it really fun and quite fast, as well, for the funnies to land, I guess, the punchlines to land, and I've been trained to pick up the pace more, I guess. But with video games, when voicing for that, that's a different kettle of fish. It's the closest to live action acting you will do, as a
Okay.
voice actor. In video games, the stakes are higher. The emotions are more raw as well. And yeah, it's more grounded, more relatable, and at times gut wrenching. And also, there are times where all you need to do are effort sounds as well. I remember one of the courses that I actually took part in. In one of the classes, we were doing efforts, and I actually had to work through what they called a Waller sheet, and it's these different reactions, like a vocal reaction to literally jogging, and then running, and then really sprinting, as well. What that would sound like, or jumping, different things like that as well, and maybe getting strangled, or maybe death as well,
Oh
in different
man.
ways. Yeah, how that would sound, and I've done auditions that even by the end, because it was for a video game and they needed one or two reactions, they needed me to, I would say, scream as well, like literally yell. So yeah, it's been crazy. And I think one of the voiceover jobs I did not too long ago for a video game called Collateral Damage. It's all being done by one guy. They they actually cast me as these sorts of creatures called biohazards, I guess. There are these like mutated creatures or something, and I had to kind of go through this list of of pieces of dialogue that they would say in these different situations, and they said improvise, have fun with it. I had to even improvise alien names, as well, and it's just because they cast me because of the sort of sound I came out with, and it's not just saying these words, it's just the breathing and the things like that, the kind of sounds I'm making when I'm not talking, or the emotional noises, like if it's like lust or something, or really zeroing in on your target, like that, or like a snake or something, and
Okay.
so yeah, so it kind of almost that's yeah, it's kind of like that, in that way, and yeah, and almost like it was
Pretty cool.
there's some sort of glee there in the breathing that you feel, you know. But then
Mhm.
there are moments where it's almost like like yeah, in a way. I won't go too loud, but yeah. So I would go weird in the booth.
They probably like that because you like making a game. You want to create as many crazy sounds as you can. You know what I mean? Because a lot of games let you pick which sound you want to go with. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. That's what you're doing. You're basically helping making all those different selections and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's you know, it's basically doing more than just going through the dialogue, like the words. That kind of helps you to stand out, because it shows that you're losing yourself in the character. You're thinking more about, the situation, like who they're talking to, like how far away the other person is, from them that they're talking to. Maybe they're a distance. Maybe they'll have to talk loud and just shout, like that. Or they're in
Mhm.
close proximity and it's more quiet, intimate and quiet, and they have to just talk at this volume and not really put much into it because people don't really talk very clearly all the time. So, yeah, it's all these different things. Yeah. Mm.
For my next question, I want to ask you, before working on projects like Lego Star Wars and the Skywalker saga, were you a fan of Legos and Disney? What was it like working on these Lego games, and how does the animation process differ from working on a regular game versus a Lego game?
I was a huge fan of Lego way before
Okay.
this. I grew up with Lego. I had lots of Lego, like from my earliest childhood memories, building stuff and
Okay.
everything and creating whole worlds with them. So, and well, just imagine this for a moment. Get getting told that by like the TT Games who do all these games, they just done a bunch of Lego Star Wars games at the time. Being told that, yeah, we like you as an animator here, and going to put you in the cinematics department. You're going to work on cutscenes. Oh, and by the way, today Warner Brothers have bought us, so you'll technically be working for Warner Brothers, as well. So there's that. And then a few
Okay.
days before, about at least a week beforehand, I realized I'd never played any of their Lego games, so I bought one of their older Lego Star Wars games and got up to speed and loved the humor and the cuteness of it. And so I was quite excited to see what I could bring, to
Mm-hmm.
this, the imagination and everything. And and then after I worked on one scene at least of Lego Batman, I was then suddenly brought on to Lego Indiana Jones. It was based on the trilogy, the original trilogy.
Yep.
And even though all of these characters weren't talking, like speaking actual words, they're more reaction sounds, I was actually getting to animate a whole bunch of the cinematics, the cutscenes in there. So imagine this, being one of the biggest fans of Indiana Jones and being given these characters immortalized as Lego characters, with these incredible environments that you know from the movies, and being asked to recreate some of the classic scenes from these movies, but with Lego characters, like the action and everything, and just even Indiana's dad. I even got to do the last scene of the Temple of Doom, where they actually lead the children back home, to the I think the Indian village, just reuniting them with their families, and Indy just tilting his hat back, to kiss Winnie, like in the cheeky way that he does when they get sprayed by an elephant and everything, and you got the classic music playing at the end of the movie. So I got to animate that. So yeah, it was the combination was just magic, for me. I just loved it. And what it felt like working on each of these, just in general, I enjoyed exploring these different franchises that I worked on. I mean, some I liked more than others. Like for instance, I got very excited when they would announce Lord of the Rings or the very first Lego Marvel game, as well. Just seeing what Iron Man would look like and everything, because a whole bunch of Marvel movies had been released at that time, and so yeah, it really, excuse me, it kind of raised the bar when our characters actually started speaking actual words as well. We it showed that we could put more acting into it as well. The interesting thing is that every game that we worked on, we would start getting into it, like into the story. We would start gradually working on these cutscenes, and then after a while, we would find ourselves somehow lost in it. It would feel like We would get in the morning, get back to our scene, whatever we're working on under direction. We'd be working to a deadline, we go back home, and everything. And just be completely lost in it. It just in those moments, it would feel like it was our own personal project and something that we didn't talk about outside of work because obviously we're under contracts and we're used to it, keeping secrets. And then at a certain point, like maybe months later, or it could be over a year later, the trailer drops on YouTube. So it's like maybe features certain clips from some of the cutscenes or some of the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
You see one or two bits of your own work in there, and you are seeing people all over YouTube, all over different game sites lose their minds because they are so excited for this game now, that's coming out. And you're seeing like these people who are losing their minds, they are global. And you realize just how big this thing is and what you're actually working on. And it's like, geez, we need to deliver. We need to give them a really good game now, like that. And we often had that experience. And so it's a crazy feeling. That's all I can really say. That's all how I can describe it. Yeah, a crazy experience, a great feeling.
That sounds interesting because I know just releasing podcast episodes and kind of seeing the numbers like that, I know it doesn't equate to like putting out a video game and seeing like millions and billion people like reacting to it and actually playing the game and then giving their feedbacks and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, the last thing I will say on it, by the way, I think it was one of the Lego Marvel games, and yeah, that was it. I do remember now. I think it must have been like a sequel or something, but yeah, it was kind of cool that one of my scenes appeared like at the end of like a trailer or something, and it was a scene that I was kind of scared to take on that they had given me because it was like heroes and villains banding together, like literally combining forces, like they're literally on a helicarrier pad, all together moving forwards, either hovering or all walking together, and it's like a nerd fest. You see loads of them, but I have them in these shots walking for like moving forwards in an epic way, slow motion, like that. And they had that at the end of one of the trailers, and then people literally said things like, "Wow, Nerdfest! Did anyone else have a nerdgasm at that last shot?" And I was like, "That's my scene," like that. And so it basically it was just before Stan Lee had actually passed away, as well. And so I actually kind of at the end of that game, the last thing that you see is the Silver Surfer literally going back up into space again. And so I got to animate that. And when the game came out, it was the first time that I saw that they actually got Stan Lee to narrate the end of it, as well. And it was during my cutscene where he literally basically said, he said something along the lines of, so once again the world was saved, and the heroes won, and that's, Great Believer, is how it should have ended, like that. And yeah, he says something along those lines, and so it was so cool just seeing his voice to my cutscene, and I keep it as a nice memory ever since he passed away as well. That's that I just have that as well. It feels like a nice memory.
Were you actually like a fan of comic books or anything? Like,
yeah, I think when I was younger, there were times where I did read comic books, but yeah, I think I stopped at a certain point. But I just love the artistry of comic books, and I think they still hold up. They're fantastic.
All right. Well, my next question I want to ask you is, how much control does an animator have over the overall product and visual style of a game? Like, are you guys able to make like director decisions, like, oh, we're gonna cut that scene, we're not gonna do that. But mainly what I'm asking is how much do y'all have control over the creative process over the game?
Mm. We have some control. Not so much in terms of cutting a scene out or a shot out or anything like that, because we kind of have to work to a layout. We have to kind of follow under direction.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing is that the director would, whoever was directing us anyway, they would listen to our ideas, because they didn't want to take like full control of our animation in a way where we don't have any say so, like of how we want our characters to walk or act or anything, because we were encouraged to kind of put our own persona into it, our own little creativity. I think it was, yeah, like just even in the way they actually talk to each other, yeah, certain movements and everything. Yeah, I think sometimes one or two ideas would make people laugh, but then we kind of realized it wasn't quite family friendly. We need to kind of change that. We need to cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was one time it really cracked me up seeing it. I thought it was genius, but it was in the one of the Lego Indiana Jones games at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when the they both got their eyes closed because the Nazis have opened the Ark and all the ghosts kind of come out and yeah, and melts them and everything like that, and then all the ghosts disappear. Well, in our game, they had it where Indy and Marion, I think it is, they're untied, they've survived and everything, and because the spirits have been out, it's almost like a weird like disco light effect where it's very romantic and everything, and then the camera's pulling out as Indy takes Marion in his hands to kind of like, well, into his arms to kind of start dancing, do a very romantic slow dance.
Hmm.
And the animator he showed me the original, what he had done, and he had been asked to take it out. As the camera's panning out, you see very clearly that Indy actually takes his hand, that's on Marion's back, and puts it on her butt.
Oh, okay.
And then Marion just very casually just takes his hand and puts it onto her back again. And it was so subtle, but it just made us laugh. I just loved it.
That's funny. They made him take it out though. They're like, oh,
Because it wasn't
gotta keep it
overdone. It
PG.
was just so subtle. And I couldn't stop watching it. It was just brilliant.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to my next question. I kind of want to ask is, as like a consumer of anime and also like movies and stuff like that, when you see like a project have bad animation, what is some of the behind the scenes factors that contribute to that?
Mm.
Because a lot of times it's not that the animators are bad, but sometimes they're
Mm.
being rushed and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Absolutely. I mean, look, from time to time, it can be, you know, something with like the animators' skills, but a lot of time it's not so much the case. It could be the direction, as well, because there are good directors and not so great directors, who are very clear, in the direction. But also it can be scheduling, I'd say. Maybe it could be anything to do with budget. There are different factors, I guess. And yeah, even rushing animators. Maybe it can. I mean, I think different studios have really improved over the years. Like, for instance, lots of different video game studios now, they do not believe in crunch, like crunch time.
Mm.
Like having people work overtime. They really try to avoid that because they try to look after their employees now. The different unsung heroes behind the scenes. The tech guys, the animators, and the artists, I would say. And so, well, yeah, like for instance, if a video games project, due to different decisions that have been made, is has a ridiculous schedule of maybe around 3 months,
Mhm.
for the animators to kind of animate like all of these cutscenes, can be a very stressful environment for them to do very good work, and it's also down to what's allowed, what the director or producers kind of say, yeah, I can go in a game, as well. So different factors, really. Yeah,
Have you been on a
contribute.
project where you felt like the animation could have been better, but a lot of outside factors came in and messed it up? Or
What I will say is that a lot of the games that we work on, as animators, or a lot of projects that animators work on, we often do look back and cringe anyway, because we're like
Mhm.
this with our own work. I, at times, I struggle to look at some of the early animation that I did, in older games, because I can see how my animation has changed over the years, how I've
Okay.
grown and how I've improved. So that's difficult anyway. Yeah, but I think I guess in a way it's universal. That's what I'll say. Hmm.
Okay. For my next question, I want to ask you, out of all your vocal performances as of right now, which one do you consider your best?
Hmm. That's quite a tricky one, really, because I would say, oh, I don't know. It's a tie between a few, really. I think one of them in particular that I really enjoyed, and can you believe very recently, it wasn't like for animation or anything like that, but it was a corporate video. Can you believe it? It was an internal corporate video, and it
That's
was for
interesting.
Christmas because they sent me a script, and I actually got a very good review from it. And it was so surprising to me because they didn't ask for any changes or anything. They actually felt I actually went a bit further beyond what they were expecting, as well. Basically, I was
That's
given the
good criticism.
script. It felt good, yeah. They gave me the script. It was probably about a page long or something. It's quite lengthy. And I had to basically do this as a character. And I basically it had to be American because that's the client was American. And so was the company. And so it had to basically be an elf. And
Okay.
it was about like a Christmas event, a very big Christmas company event that was happening. And so it was just finding that character, like in the script and just imagining it like in my head and putting that enthusiasm and that energy and not making it all sound the same, as well. And just having like the occasional moment where it's just kind of made him think of something. Now he's almost talking to himself. He snaps out of it, then he kind of carries on talking to you like that. Yeah. And so in a way, it's I would say that that was one of my favorite performances, and actually, I didn't cringe listening back to it, because it was, yeah, it kind of
Well, it kind of felt like everything was so whimsical and so happy all the time, like that. And hi.
in that kind of way. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it was very good. It was good fun, and I enjoyed doing that performance. Yeah.
For my next question, we're moving down to our last three.
Ah,
For my next question, I want to ask you is, can you offer any advice for anybody that wants to get into voice acting or animation, looking to kind of break into the industry? Could you tell us about any website or educational paths they should go down?
yes, absolutely. Let's start with animation. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So if you want to be an animator, okay, look, anything is a lot of work, anything creative, to get good at anything. And yeah, you. basically, very important to take some sort of course. You need to research, obviously, like the different places that do courses as well, because you need to think about the type of animation that you want to end up doing, whether it is like video games and things like that. If you want to focus on characters and yeah, and you want to think if you want to do 2D animation or like 3D computer animation, if you want to work in video games and things like that. And yeah, it. Oh, I'm getting like a thumbs emoji right there. Thumbs up emoji on this video. It's weird. But yeah, you need to definitely do a lot of research and be very open to the different styles as well. The type of projects you want to animate for, you need to research those projects as well, not just movies, but even the actual video games. You need to really study some acting as well, because you need to understand human emotion. You need to learn about actual human movements as well. Film yourself a reference. I'm an animator. I've filmed himself a reference as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, whatever I want my characters to do. And I have footage of that somewhere online as well, embarrassing footage, but you see the end results as well. So yeah, that's what I would say with animation and also definitely keep learning the tech stuff as well, because technology is constantly changing as well. A lot of studios around these days use Maya. If you can use Maya, if you can animate in Maya, the program that is used by different movie studios and game studios everywhere, then you can animate in lots of other programs, basically. I mean, even Pixar and places like that, they use Maya. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of like talking about the animation, I guess. But in terms of voice acting, I would say, well, quite similar. Take like an acting course if you can, like even a short acting course, because voice acting is acting. You need to be able to be directed. Need to be able to emote as well. As I mentioned earlier, learn to appreciate and accept and love your own voice, your natural voice, because I know lots of people out there say, I can't stand the sound of my voice. I hate my voice. But no, you need to kind of cut that out. Your voice is what makes you unique. So embrace it. And there is no way around it. You need to invest your time and money. It's not a job that you can just go into, just quit by quitting your other job and then, yeah, I'm just going to start voice acting. No, it takes time. It takes at best like even a few years to actually start getting traction with it, start booking. So I would say even when you're starting to take voice acting classes and you can do that online, like over Zoom, and yeah, you should keep another job going as well. That needs to fund your voice acting, because eventually, you'll put together your own home studio. You started out with a pillow and blanket fort. Because if you have your own home studio where you can emit basically broadcast quality audio, you can do work for clients literally all over the world, like global. And yeah, so just really think about that. And the training, you should keep training. That should never really stop. I mean, obviously take like breaks every once in a while, but at times, take another class. Keep those skills sharp, experiment, and just network like crazy. Do direct marketing, learn about the business, and everything. So yeah. So I would say just really ask yourself if this is what you want to do, because you need to dedicate yourself to it.
Yep. That's true, because you need to be able to invest in yourself, especially getting into voice acting. And all the voice actors I've had on, they've all said the same thing. You're going to have to pay for classes, pay for microphones, pay for basically the initial setup. and then it might take years, just like you were just saying, before you even book a gig or book something like that. So being able to keep faith during that whole time, that can be hard too. So
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's because you know what, there are times where you'll get frustrated. You'll start getting like the imposter syndrome. You'll start to question your own skills, and everything. But it's all down to you. If you can persevere, as well, and just really stick through it and not let the imposter syndrome beat you. Yeah, basically, because if you have a voice, you have a place. You just need to really work at it.
all right. Now for my second to last question. What ambitions or goals do you have yet to fulfill in the field of voice acting or in game production?
Hmm. Oh, well, let's see. I would say in voice acting, actually voicing for a feature film
Oh,
or
that'd be
like
fun.
a main or a substantial character like in a video game, that'd be amazing, to do.
So you want to do like a
Um,
Disney movie or Pixar or
that would be the dream, but
okay.
any kind of like feature film, movie, as well, just anything, I would say. Maybe like even a national commercial. I'd love to do that. I'm yet to experience that. And,
Uh,
so we'll see if I
be the
can
voice
get
behind
close.
Arby's.
Yeah. Sorry?
That'd be like the voice behind Arby's and stuff like that.
Something, yeah, something like that, because I have friends who maybe are the voice behind like a toothpaste brand who are always
Hmm.
being played on TV and, and everything. And, yeah, because once you get to, like get a national commercial, of a certain brand, something happens, different things open up, in terms of other commercials and brands, and yeah, that's yeah, that's something I'd love to experience as well. I would say in terms of animation, in terms of video games, I've never really animated on any feature film. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. That would be quite cool. Although the reality is that animators, they only get like a very small portion of a feature film to animate, yeah, because they have so many animators on it. But yeah, I would love to animate more fully on a AAA game that involves motion capture, just more because I have worked on one or two of those just with the facial animation, but I'd love to do that, but with the full body, a bit more. Yeah. Mm.
Okay. That sounds pretty cool. And all right, before we close up, I just want to ask, do you have a question for me or for another voice actor or animator that may come on to the podcast?
Right. Okay. Something to ask them. I would say, let's see. Yeah, I would ask you, what's one of the biggest things you'd like to accomplish in 2025?
Mm, next year. Oh, this is going to sound interesting. I would like to figure out what I want to do in terms of like career and stuff like that. Because I feel like I've been in the limbo space, just kind of trying new things out. Just recently tried out the dental field. Now I'm trying out security. So I've just been really just trying to figure out what field do I want to actually do. And I don't know. I've been doing this podcast for about a few years and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's something in talking or something on social media or something like that. But I just want to be able to figure out what I want to do and start spending a bit more of my time into that.
Mm, yeah, you know what? I'm sure that things will become more clear,
Mhm.
yeah, in your head. And yeah, and I do have that for you as well. And I think definitely for now, definitely enjoy the journey. And I know you will. I'm excited for you. Yeah, with that. And yeah, well, actually, just to leave you on something positive if you want as well. Yeah, I will say that in terms of the voice acting, definitely one of the things I kind of missed out is that Yeah, there are difficult things to learn, like even the voice acting business side of things and stuff like that. You do need to learn that and learn how to market yourself, negotiate, and things like that. But it's very important to have fun in what you
True.
do. And one of the ways I had fun recently is we just had Halloween, and so we knew we were going to have trick or treaters round, and I quickly recorded something to play through a Bluetooth speaker that was in our garage. Just for every time we saw through our Ring doorbell the neighborhood kids approaching our house, for trick or treat. Yeah, just for the candy, and so they come with the parents, and so because I'm known to be an impressionist because I grew up more of an impressionist, and I did something along the lines of they would approach the house and they would sort of hear like "Whoop boy, it's finally Halloween!" Oh, Ricky! Like that, and it'd be like that, and doing all of that.
I guess these kids will be wanting candy. Oh, I think these kids are gonna be wanting candy again.
Like that, and I just kept on going from one to the other. It's like up to Neverland, here we go. Like that and everything, and
Okay, that's okay.
I guess these kids will be wanting candies, but like and everything, and yeah, from one to another. And you know what? Using the voice acting just from time to time, just to make people happy. I mean, it's good practice, but also it just kind of picks up your enthusiasm even in the quiet moments. When things in voice acting are quiet. So have fun with it. Yeah.
There you go. I know a lot of kids probably definitely gonna remember that when they grow up. Remember that house that had all those different characters? Yeah.
Oh, I'll be stepping it up each year for Halloween.
Before we wrap up, I just want to take a moment and thank you for all your incredible work and for bringing some of our favorite characters to life. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this so much.
And with that, we'll close today's episode. A big thank you to my guests for joining me and sharing so much insight into the world of voice acting and also animation. I had a blast. I hope you all learned something new too. Before we finish, I want to just give my guest the opportunity to plug themselves, basically tell everybody where they can find you if they have any questions about anything.
Sure, yes. You can find me. My website is chriswoodworthvo.com. So chriswoodworthvo.com. And on there you can just find information about me, what I do as a voice actor, and my different representation. But also you'll see the link to my different social media platforms as well. LinkedIn, TikTok, and everything. I post often on there. If you need a voice to bring your project to life, feel free to reach out, or I am happy to hear from anyone who just wants advice, if they're thinking about getting into voice acting, voice actors, we are a very, a supportive bunch. So feel free to reach out.
And with that, I just want to say, peace!
Peace!